Did you know that in the quiet suburbs and close-knit families of this country, a silent epidemic is costing our seniors over $36 billion a year? Now, if you're picturing a shadowy hacker in some foreign country, you're missing the point. The vast majority of that financial exploitation, that emotional drainage, doesn't come from a stranger on the phone. It comes from people they know, people they trust, sometimes people they love. For decades, I made my living in small, windowless rooms, listening to men and women tell me lies. Some were magnificent, intricate constructions. Others were pathetic, flimsy things. But they all had one thing in common. They were testing for weakness. They were looking for a crack in the wall, a door left unlocked, a boundary that was nothing more than a polite suggestion. Today, we're not talking about hardened criminals. We're talking about something far more common and in many ways more dangerous: the manipulators in your own life. The adult child who treats your bank account like their personal ATM. The friend whose emergencies always require your time and your energy, with nothing in return. The caregiver whose help feels more like control. You've been taught your whole life to be polite, to not make waves, to be accommodating, and manipulators count on that. They use your good nature against you like a weapon. They see your kindness not as a virtue, but as a vulnerability to be exploited. They will push and prod, taking an inch, then a foot, then a mile, until you find yourself drained, exhausted, and wondering how you lost control of your own life. We're going to change that. Right now. You need to stop thinking of boundaries as some soft psychological term. A boundary is not a request. It is not a preference. A boundary is the security system for your life. It's the electrified fence, the reinforced steel door, the silent alarm that protects your assets, your time, your emotional energy, and your peace of mind. Without it, you are leaving the vault wide open. I once had a client, a lovely woman named Eleanor. Her nephew, a real charmer, started by helping with her groceries. Then it was helping manage her online bills. He had all her passwords. He said it was to protect her from scammers. It wasn't long before we discovered he had been systematically siphoning her retirement fund into his own accounts for 2 years. When I asked her why she gave him that much control, she said something I'll never forget. I didn't want to seem rude. He was just trying to help. She had a suggestion, a feeling that she shouldn't be so open with her finances, but she never built the wall. She never made it a rule. Manipulators start small. They condition you. They'll ask for a small favor you can't reasonably refuse, then a slightly bigger one. They test your no. If it's soft, if it wavers, if it comes with a long, apologetic explanation, they know they've found a way in. They will keep pushing until they hit a hard stop. Our job today is to teach you how to be that hard stop. When was the last time you said yes when every fiber of your being screamed no? What did that yes ultimately cost you? Let's talk about the interrogation room. It's a laboratory of human behavior. You learn very quickly that what people say and what they do are often two very different things. A suspect might say, "I'd rather not talk about that." A rookie detective, trained to be polite and build rapport, might back off. They hear a boundary. But a veteran detective hears something else entirely. They hear, "That's where the truth is buried. That's my vulnerability. Push here." A boundary without a consequence is not a boundary. It is a suggestion. And to a manipulator, a suggestion is an invitation. It's a signal that the topic is negotiable, that the rule is flexible, and that with enough pressure, whining, or guilt, you will eventually cave. They hear your hesitant no as a try harder. They see your discomfort not as a reason to stop, but as a sign that their tactics are working. Every time you state a boundary and fail to enforce it, you are training them to ignore you. You are teaching them that your words have no weight. It's a form of conditioning. Think of it like this. If a dog barks and you give it a treat to be quiet, what have you just taught the dog? You've taught it that barking gets it a treat. You haven't solved the barking problem. You've guaranteed it will happen again. When a manipulator ignores your request and you give in to keep the peace, you've just given them a treat. You've rewarded their bad behavior. Let me tell you about a con artist I tracked for years. He didn't use threats or intimidation. His method was far more subtle. He'd move into a new town, join a church or a community center, and become the most helpful man anyone had ever met. He'd start with small things. "Oh, let me help you carry that. Don't worry about the tip, it's my pleasure." He built up a bank of social goodwill. Then came the small requests. "I'm a little short for gas. Could you spare $5? Who could say no? Then, "My car broke down. I just need $100 to get it fixed. I'll pay you back Friday." He targeted people's politeness. He knew they'd feel awful refusing such a small request after all done for them. His victims saw themselves as setting a boundary. This is the last time. But because they never enforced it, it was just a wish. The real boundary isn't the words you say, it's the action you take. The real boundary is when they ask again, and your answer is a calm, simple, "As we discussed, I'm not able to lend you any more money." And then you change the subject, or you end the conversation. The enforcement is the consequence. Without it, you're just whispering suggestions into a hurricane. What's a boundary you've set that keeps getting trampled? Look at your actions, not your words. What are you actually teaching that person about how to treat you? I want you to think of your life as a fortress. It contains everything precious to you: your time, your energy, your money, your peace. A fortress has multiple layers of defense, not just one big wall. Your personal boundaries work the same way. There are 4 distinct walls you need to build and maintain. If one of them is weak, the entire fortress is at risk. The first is your physical boundary. This is the most obvious one. It's your fence, your front door, your personal space. It dictates who can touch you, how close they can stand, who is allowed into your home. A violation is someone who stands too close when they talk, who touches you without your permission, or the relative who shows up unannounced and expects you to drop everything. I worked a stalking case once where the victim's ex-partner would constantly violate this boundary in small ways. He wouldn't threaten her, not at first. He'd just appear. He'd be at the same grocery store. He'd drop off unsolicited gifts at her door. Each one was a small physical intrusion, designed to tell her, "Your walls don't apply to me. I can get to you whenever I want." The second wall is your time boundary. Your time is a non-renewable resource. Once it's spent, it's gone forever. This wall protects you from those who would steal it. It's the child who calls you at all hours expecting you to solve their manufactured crises. It's the friend who is chronically late, showing a fundamental disrespect for your schedule. It's the organization that guilts you into volunteering for one more committee. I knew a wonderful woman, Margaret, a retiree who was eaten alive by this. Her adult children treated her home like a 24/7 drop-in daycare and delivery service. "Mom, can you watch the kids for a few hours? Mom, can you run to the store for me?" She was so afraid of not seeming like a good mother that her retirement was more exhausting than her career had been. She had no time for herself because her time wall had been completely demolished. The third wall is the trickiest: your emotional boundary. This is the alarm system of your fortress. It separates your feelings from the feelings of others. A violation is when someone makes you responsible for their happiness. It's the emotional dumper, the person who calls you, unloads all their negativity and drama onto you, and then hangs up feeling great, leaving you feeling drained and anxious. They use you as their emotional landfill. Guilt is their primary weapon. "If you really cared about me, you would." That phrase is the key a manipulator uses to try and disarm your emotional alarm system. The fourth and final wall is your mental boundary. This protects your thoughts, values, and beliefs. It's the safe inside your fortress. People who violate this boundary tell you what you should think or how you should feel. They dismiss your opinions, belittle your beliefs, and try to impose their worldview on you. This is the family member who criticizes your life choices relentlessly under the guise of caring. They don't want a discussion, they want a conversion. They want to break down your way of thinking and replace it with their own. These four walls are interconnected. Someone who violates your time boundary will soon start to drain you emotionally. Someone who breaks your physical boundary is making a statement about their disregard for all your other boundaries. Which of your four walls feels the most vulnerable right now? Who have you given an unauthorized key to? In any investigation, the first thing you do is gather evidence. You don't walk into a courtroom and say, "I have a vague feeling this person did something wrong." A good prosecutor will laugh you out of the room. You need facts. You need dates, times, specific actions, and documented evidence. Setting a boundary is no different. You must first become a detective in your own life. The first step in the protocol is identification and evidence gathering. Most people skip this. They operate on feelings. He just makes me so uncomfortable. She's always so demanding. A manipulator loves vague feelings. They are masters at creating fog. They will gaslight you, telling you, "I never said that," or "You're being too sensitive," or "You're remembering it wrong." Your feelings are easy for them to dismiss. Your documented facts are not. This is why you must start keeping a boundary log. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. A simple spiral notebook will do. In it, you will log the evidence. Make 4 columns: date, time, person, the action, words, and how it made me feel. For example, Oct. 7, 2:15 p.m. My son, Mark, called and asked for $200 for his rent. This is the 3rd time in 2 months. I felt anxious, guilty, but also angry and taken advantage of. Or Oct. 8, 11 a.m. My friend, Susan, showed up at my door unannounced, expecting me to have coffee. I was getting ready for a doctor's appointment. I felt flustered, annoyed, and like my time wasn't being respected. This log is not for them. You will never show it to them. It is for you. It serves 2 critical purposes. First, it cuts through the fog of manipulation. When you see the violations written down in black and white, the pattern becomes undeniable. It's no longer a one-time thing or a misunderstanding. It's a clear, documented pattern of behavior. This will solidify your resolve and erase any self-doubt. Second, it gives you specific, factual data to build your boundary on. I once consulted on a corporate case an executive who felt he was being constantly undermined by a subordinate. It was all subtle digs, jokes in meetings that made him look foolish, faint praise that was actually an insult. He felt like he was going crazy. I told him to start a log. For 2 weeks, he wrote down every single instance. When we reviewed it, the pattern was so clear and so vicious, it gave him the absolute clarity he needed to remove the subordinate from his team. He stopped feeling crazy and started taking action. Vague discomfort is a starting point, but it's not enough. You need to translate that feeling into hard evidence. Are you relying on a fuzzy memory of disrespect to justify your anger? What would happen if you started documenting the facts, like a detective building a case? Once you have your evidence, it's time to move to the second step of the protocol, the formal statement. In my world, this is the moment an interview shifts into an interrogation. The pleasantries are over. We are no longer exploring possibilities, we are stating facts. When you communicate your boundary, I want you to adopt that same mindset. This is not a negotiation. It is not a request for their approval. It is a declaration of your personal law. The way you communicate is critical. A manipulator is an expert at twisting your words. If you are emotional, apologetic, or long-winded, you are handing them ammunition. Your statement must be calm, clear, concise, and unwavering. The gold standard for this is the I statement, but not the weak, pleading kind. It's a statement of personal policy. You don't say, "I feel bad when you ask me for money." That centers their behavior and your feelings, which they can argue with. Instead, you state your policy. I will no longer be lending money. Period. Full stop. No explanation. Explanations are a trap. The moment you start to justify, argue, defend, or explain, you have lost. You have entered into a negotiation about the validity of your boundary. Your boundary does not require their validation. Let me give you some templates. I want you to practice these. Say them out loud. Get used to the feeling of these words in your mouth. They are your shield. For the person who gives unsolicited advice, thank you for your concern, but I am not looking for advice on this. For the person who makes last-minute demands on your time, that doesn't work for me. I need at least 24 hours notice for requests like that. For the person who raises their voice or becomes insulting, when you speak to me in that tone, this conversation is over. We can try again when you are calm. For the emotional dumper, I have the capacity to listen for about 5 minutes, but then I need to get back to my day. And the most powerful 2 words in the English language: no. Just no. Not "I'm so sorry, but I can't." Not "I wish I could," but just a clean, simple no. Then embrace the silence. The silence is where they squirm. They are expecting you to fill it with justifications they can attack. Don't. Let them sit in it. I remember coaching a witness who was being intimidated by a defendant's family. They would corner her in the courthouse hallway, trying to get her to change her story. We drilled one phrase over and over: I will not discuss the case. They pleaded, they got angry. They tried to guilt her. She just became a broken record. I will not discuss the case. After a few days, they stopped trying. She gave them nothing to work with. She became a brick wall. Do you find yourself over-explaining your no? What are you so afraid will happen if you simply state your boundary and stop talking? We've arrived at the part of the process where 99% of people fail. It's the step that separates a flimsy suggestion from an unbreakable rule. This step is enforcement and consequences. A law without a punishment is just a guideline. A boundary without a consequence is just hot air. This is the moment of truth. The manipulator will test you. It's not a matter of if, but when. They will cross the line you just drew, just to see what you'll do. Your reaction in that moment determines the entire future of the relationship. The consequence must be 2 things. It must be something you have 100% control over, and it must be applied immediately and every single time. It is not a punishment designed to hurt them. It is a protective action designed to secure your fortress. Think of a bank vault's security system. If someone punches in the wrong code, an alarm doesn't go off in a security office a mile away where a guard has to decide whether to get out of his chair. No. Steel doors slam shut instantly and automatically. Your consequences must be that automatic. The secret is to tie the consequence to your own action, not theirs. You cannot control what they do. You can only control what you do. Weak boundary. You have to stop showing up at my house unannounced. Strong boundary. If you show up at my house unannounced, I will not answer the door. Weak boundary. You need to stop yelling at me. Strong boundary. If you raise your voice at me, I will hang up the phone, leave the room. Weak boundary. You have to stop asking me for money. Strong boundary. The next time you ask me for money, our conversation will be over. See the difference? The power is entirely in your hands. You are not asking for their permission or cooperation. You are simply stating the direct and predictable outcome of their actions. I had a client, David, a man in business with a partner who was brilliant but completely unreliable. He constantly missed deadlines, putting their contracts at risk. David had pleaded, argued, and threatened for years. Nothing worked. We established a new boundary. He told his partner, "The weekly report is due on my desk by Friday at 5:00 p.m. If it is not there, I will take over the account personally, and the full commission for that client will be mine." The first Friday, 5:00 p.m., came and went. No report. David immediately emailed the client, took control of the account, and shifted the commission. His partner went berserk. He screamed. He accused David of betrayal. David just said, "I told you what would happen." The reports were never laid again. Be prepared for what psychologists call an extinction. Burst. When a manipulator realizes their old behavior isn't working anymore, they don't just give up. They often escalate. Their tactics get worse before they get better. They will throw a tantrum. They will test you harder. This is the critical moment. If you hold firm, you teach them the new rule is real. If you cave, you teach them that all they have to do is scream louder to get their way. What is one consequence you are willing and able to enforce every single time, without fail? Is it something you, and only you, have complete control over? The moment you enforce a real consequence, the game changes. The manipulator feels a loss of control, and, like a cornered suspect, they will use every trick they know to get it back. You are now in a counter-interrogation. Your job is not to win an argument, it is to hold your ground. You must be prepared for their tactics. They are predictable, and if you can name them, you can neutralize them. The first and most common tactic is the gaslight. This is the classic, "that never happened," "you're being hysterical," or "you're remembering it wrong." The goal is to make you doubt your own sanity. This is why your boundary log is your most powerful weapon. Your countermove is to refuse to debate the past. Do not get drawn into an argument about what was said or done. Your response should be calm and forward-looking. My memory of it is different, but regardless, the new rule moving forward is X. Or, even simpler, we can agree to disagree on that. My boundary still stands. The second tactic is the guilt trip. This is the weapon of choice for family members. "After everything I've done for you? I can't believe you'd be so selfish. A good son, you, daughter, and friend wouldn't do this." They are activating your programming to be a nice person. Your counter move is to acknowledge their feeling without accepting their premise. This is a technique called the gray rock. You become emotionally boring. Your response, "I can see you're disappointed, but this is what I need to do for myself." Or, "I'm sorry you feel that way." Notice you are not apologizing for your boundary, only for their feelings about it. There is a world of difference. The third tactic is playing the victim. They will frame your boundary as an attack. "Why are you trying to hurt me? Don't you see how much pain I'm in? How can you be so cruel?" They want to make you the aggressor and them the wounded party. Your countermove is to show empathy for their state while holding firm to your need. "I am not trying to hurt you. This is about protecting my own well-being." You separate their issues from your rules. You can have compassion for their struggle without letting it dismantle your defenses. Finally, there's the challenge. They may test the rule directly. "So you're saying, I can never call you after 9 p.m.? What if the house is on fire?" They are looking for loopholes, trying to draw you into a negotiation. Your countermove is to refuse to engage with hypotheticals. The boundary is firm. There are no exceptions. I once interrogated a very sophisticated financial criminal. In the space of an hour, he tried everything. He wept about his sick mother. He got angry and accused my partner of incompetence. He feigned chest pains. He claimed he was being framed. My only job was to ignore the performance and return to the central fact. Let's go back to the forged signature on this document, shall we? Your job is the same. No matter what tactic they use, your response must always bring them back to the central fact. Let's go back to the boundary. Which of these tactics feels most familiar to you? Are you prepared to face it without flinching? There is a fundamental misunderstanding about what we are doing here. People think setting a boundary is a single dramatic event, a big confrontation, a fiery declaration, and then it's over. That is completely wrong. Setting a boundary is not a single act, it is the beginning of a new lifestyle. It's like exercise. You don't get strong by going to the gym once. You build muscle through consistent, repeated effort over time. Every time you hold a boundary, no matter how small you are doing a repetition, you are strengthening your resolve. You are literally rewiring your brain. Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity. The old neural pathways in your brain that are conditioned for compliance, for fear of conflict, for people-pleasing, they begin to weaken. And new pathways, ones associated with self-respect, agency, and calm confidence, begin to strengthen. It gets easier with practice because you are building the mental and emotional muscle to do it. Think of it as building a reputation. In my old precinct, certain detectives had a reputation for being a pushover. Suspects and their lawyers knew they could lie, obstruct, and play games with them all day long. Other detectives had a reputation for being bulldogs. They were calm fare, but absolutely relentless. They never let go of a fact. Suspects knew not to even try playing games with them. It was a waste of energy. You're doing the same thing in your personal life. You are building a reputation among your family, friends, and colleagues that you are a person whose lines are clear and whose no means no. You are teaching people how you expect to be treated. This is why the best way to start is small. Don't try to tackle the most toxic person in your life tomorrow. You're not ready for that heavyweight fight yet. Start with the small stuff. Practice on the telemarketer. Instead of making an excuse, just say, "I'm not interested," and hang up. Practice with the friend who is always 10 minutes late. Communicate the boundary. "I'm happy to meet you for lunch, but I'm on a tight schedule. If you're not there by 12:10, I'm going to have to order without you." And then when they're late, you enforce the consequence. You order. These small victories build your confidence. They prove to your own nervous system that you can survive the discomfort of someone else's disapproval. This process is not about creating a life of conflict and anger. It is the only path to a life of genuine peace. The friction you feel now is temporary. It's the friction of things changing, of new rules being established. The people in your life who truly care for you and respect you will adapt. They may be a little surprised at first, but they will come to appreciate the new clarity. And the people who fight you, who throw tantrums, who call you selfish and cruel, who eventually leave your life in a storm of drama. They have just done you the greatest favor of all. They have revealed that their position in your life was conditional on your lack of boundaries. You haven't lost a friend. You haven't lost a loved one. You've just lost a user. You've simply revealed the truth that was there all along. What is the one small boundary you can practice setting this week to do your first repetition to start building your new reputation?